in. Yay. All right. So we have the trough building in the east here with deep moisture going up to the north here and down this way, with most of the rainfall confined to this area here today and upper Midwest here off the coastline and in the desert Southwest. And if we go back and look at the water vapor loop, let's see what we're talking about here. The deeper moisture in the deeper white colors, and the drier air, of course, and the deep yellows here. You can see where the deepest moisture is at the mid levels. Lower levels as well. Lower moisture, really dry to low levels here. Underneath some serious clouds overspreading the southeast, but you can see where most of the moisture is. So when we look at the 500 millibar mid-level flow here in the atmosphere, let's see what we're talking about here. High pressure over the east. Sorry, over the west here. Trough. Right, and this is the mid-level flow. Kind of jumping around a little bit. Here we go. What's going to happen is that ridge is going to kind of flatten in the west, but maintain a little bit, and in the mid levels, and there's going to be short waves moving through the flow here, which is going to enhance rainfall in the southeast eventually as we get further in the period. See that low maintains itself out here in the northeast for quite a while. Finally tries to lift out, but northwest flow persists for the foreseeable future, with a deeper low developing over the Great Lakes. Very strong for this time of year. Moving through the flow here, dragging up. Wow, that's pretty potent right there. Gonna be a strong cold front pushing through the area here in the coming days, which will eventually bring the drier weather again. Northwest flow, and then flow becomes more zonal. Then we have a deep southerly fetch here setting up later in the period. Another trough building in, potentially 360 hours, which is the 10th, and a low pressure off the coast here, off the west coast. This can be modeled a little bit better. Short waves moving through the flow here with this vorticity, 700 millibar height and vorticity going through the flow. You see what I'm talking about here? These deeper swirls, colors indicate vorticity in the atmosphere, which a lot of times will help enhance rainfall in these areas. See almost a closed almost a closed mid-level low there into the flow. And what's going to happen in the southeast, this is going to eventually bring low pressure, kind of meander around surface low in our area, and enhance rainfall towards the end of the week. And until this troughiness builds out, that's going to continue. You see the deep low developing, vorticity showing up on the atmosphere here. And vorticity moving through the base of the trough, which I could argue that we may end up getting severe weather as this moves through. We just have to see how that sets up. What does the European model show as far as surface and precip amounts, precipitation type and rate, and these height contours indicating the heights above 1,000 to 500 millibars, which is from the lowest levels of the atmosphere. The green splotches are precip, and the yellows are deeper convection. See the moisture moving through the flow here on the tropical system off the coast here. Different ways of low pressure. That one up here, we're kind of showing association with that mid-level feature. Another one in the southeast. Kind of meanders around up here, and some precipitation in Texas. See in the southeast, kind of remains stuck in this pattern here for quite a while until this trough comes in. I showed you, and kicks that low pressure out to the north, and then the front come through, and then dry weather. And this can be shown on the moisture in the atmosphere. Just precipitation anomalies above or below normal. The darker browns are below normal. More dark brown is more below normal. See 0.84 inches, etc. So this would, the darker greens indicate if it was to rain, how much potential precipitation could fall. So we get up to 1.5. Pretty moist atmosphere. So pretty dry in the east. Of course, the moisture out west, and that trough wants to swing around. You have another one up here, and moisture going all the way up in the upper Midwest, up into Canada. Some dry air complex interactions going on here. As that low develops in the southeast, you see it wants to push moisture backwards off the east coast. In the southeast, with some dry air hanging in there in the deep south. And then that low pressure moves off deep. A push of dry air moves down along the front range of the Rockies and a good portion of the eastern U.S. to end the period here. And moisture returns, and maybe another front becoming strung out towards the end of the period here. For a more short range outlook of what, we look at the infrared satellite to tell us the highest colored cloud tops going through time here. And it just gives an idea of the convection associated with precip moving through the flow. See what I'm talking about here. A lot of moisture hanging out along the southeast and the upper Midwest. And we move through time, you kind of see maybe wanting to build up an MCS or two here, and then up in the upper Midwest again. Multiple rounds of maybe MCS is developing out west here. Maybe some severe weather if this pans out. We'll just have to see almost. So we'll have to see what happens there. What does the flood outlook look like as a result of all this precip? Out west, you have the highest risk of flooding today. Pretty unusual pattern going on right now, and with all this moisture out here. Marginal risk embedded with slight risk of excessive rainfall moving further eastward here and northward. Continue to shift eastward with a slight risk moving into Colorado, Arkansas. And then day 4 and 5, you have marginal risk along that boundary and up into the upper Midwest. And then it slides southward in here and remains in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and back up in the upper Midwest and down into the border of Texas and New Mexico. And we have multiple areas with potential tropical development in the eastern Pacific with Tropical Storm Juliet ongoing right now. Severe weather-wise, really not a lot to talk about. Day 1, general thunderstorms. Day 2, marginal risk of storms, Oklahoma, Louisiana. It's mostly driven probably by wind and maybe hail, right? And then categorical risk for day 3, general thunderstorms. So severe weather, not a big concern the coming days. Although water-loaded downdrafts and any storms that can develop can reach severe limits pretty quickly and then pulls back down, of course. So closing that out, what are the current hazards ongoing right now? This map keeps showing winter storm warning watches and advisories. I'm trying to figure out where they are, but I still haven't seen them anywhere. But we have flood watches, going on. Heat advisor in a deep far southern Florida, and red flag warning out here in western Oregon, northern California for today. So this is again going over the precip. Just gives a better approximation of how much precip is going to occur and where it's going to occur as we go through time. This is then Friday, August 29th. You see where the most of precip. This is total precip over the period. So you can see the totals increase on that boundary and south of it. So yeah, enjoy the cooler, dry weather for a couple of days. It's going to stay cool, but we're going to get some rain in the coming days. Cloud cover, same thing. Going through time, you see where most of the cloud cover is as we move through time here. This is just modeled cloud cover. So it's going to be quite cloudy for quite a good period of time in the southeast, especially in the coming days. What is the 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook look like? These are issued at, this was issued yesterday. Still cooler than normal for almost 2 weeks from now. So for a good portion of the country, of course, out west, warmer, and in the deep south here on the Gulf Coast in Florida, and up here in northern Maine, northeast. Interesting that it's going to be warmer than normal up there. We have our warmer temps probably propagating across here with deeper high pressure with the flow the way it is right now. We got 8 to 14 days out. The cooler than normal chances shift more to the northwest, likely due to fronts moving through here and enhanced cloud cover. Warm temps remain out west and start building back in the southeast and most of Florida, along the Gulf Coast and the parts of Georgia, and again into the northeast corridor up there. 6 to 10 day precip. Good chances above normal precip for a good portion of the nation. Same thing for 8 to 14 days. So Pretty wet for most of the nation coming up. So I look at temperatures over the coming days. See, I'm talking about here. Gonna get overnight temps 60s, 50s. This is tomorrow morning. This is this morning. Not a lot of really high temperatures in the Northeast. We have in the 50s, lows in the 50s, upper Midwest in the 50s. Of course, in the Southeast, as moisture increases, the nighttime temperatures are not going to get as cool. But again, the only real higher temps are going to be in the desert Southwest and the deep South, where we talked about in the other slides. Remaining quite cool overnight for the long term here for most of the nation, except for Texas and maybe in the Midwest here. But overall, not looking like an extreme heat for most of the nation, except for maybe out west, in the deeps, Florida, Texas, Gulf Coast, maybe the Northeast here. Dew points are a direct reflection of how how it feels to you when you go outside. The lower the dew points, it's gonna feel nicer. So if it's like 85 degrees at the dew point of 45 or 50, it feels nice outside. If it's 85 degrees at dew point of like 65, 70, yeah, it's gonna feel yucky. Of course, at night the dew point the temperature gets close to the dew point, more moisture in the atmosphere. But if it's 50 degrees or the 50-degree dew point temp, then although there'll be a lot of moisture, it'll feel nice and cool for you outside. So, of course, during the day, the dew points go down as the column dries out. More moisture starts to build in for the southern tier, back in the upper Midwest, along the Gulf Coast to see where the most moisture is. Intermountain West dries out considerably. And as we go towards the end of the period, the moisture eventually gets shunted southward, but you see where the boundary sets up here. Um, this is the 6th of September. So temperature anomalies. The deeper blues indicate how far the temperatures are below normal for this time of year, and the darker reds are above normal, and the numbers that represent each individual reporting station or area. So we move over time here, we can kind of see where the numbers Canada and Alaska are getting hammered with hot temperatures, and going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. But you see, for most of the U.S., not going to be that far above normal, except maybe up in the Northwest here, really, and out west. And like we talked about, maybe in the Northeast for the long term. But you see the deeper colors here. We talked about those fronts moving through. Yeah. But it looks like in the Southeast, at least, where a lot of my friends are that watch YouTube and listen to my forecast, it's going to remain close to normal, below normal, or a little bit above normal for the foreseeable future here. Which the northwest going to remain hot up into Canada and maybe the Northeast here. So enjoy it. We quickly want to talk about the tropics. We have Fernand out here in the tropical Atlantic, not harming anybody. Forecast to become post-tropical by late today. And this is the long-range tropical outlook, which looks like tropical activity is going to remain. It's going to remain active in the tropical Atlantic, although in the short term, there's going to be a little bit of a lull for a week or so, I think. But as we go through time, the Climate Prediction Center thinks that, especially right now and up for the next week or so in the Eastern Pacific, enhanced rainfall and higher chances of development. Then we move through the 10th through the 16th. These areas here you see in the tropical Atlantic, the main development region where highest chances are in the deep reds, greater than 40% chance of development. So even though there's a lull in activity right now, it's not going to stay that way. I don't think we're going to have an uptick in tropical activity, like I said, in the coming weeks. The East Pacific has been unusually active. Even though we had a lull for a little while, it's already on the J name. So um, that's pretty much it for today. I hopefully y'all get something out of this forecast, and I enjoy doing this every day. Some days it's harder than others because it's so early in the morning, but I try to get these out to help people and let them know what's going on. And I hope you all have a great day today.